Hey everyone. We're diving into some resources from Market Your Art, their website, and their essential guide to social media marketing for artists.
And it's fascinating how they approach it, not just the mechanics of marketing, but the mindset shift too.
Okay, let's unpack this. Their website is very convincing, promises to help artists build thriving businesses, lots of resources, tips, strategies.
Yeah.
But what actually stood out to you? What makes their approach different?
They get that community is everything for artists. It's right there on their website. They're not just selling software or something, they're selling connection. That resonated with me.
Makes sense.
Ugh.
Because slogging away in your studio alone, that's tough, even for us introverted artist types.
hmm
So they're emphasizing the support system. What else?
They cut right to the chase. You are an entrepreneur. Your
Yeah.
art, it's your business. That's a mental hurdle a lot of creatives struggle with, wouldn't you say?
Big time. We've all had that crisis of, am I selling out by wanting to, make a living?
hmm
But they're saying, no, your talent has value, and learning to market it is just part of the deal.
Exactly. It's about understanding what makes your art unique and then communicating that value to the right people.
Which brings us to social media.
I appreciate their realism. You don't need to become an influencer overnight. Even dedicating 30 minutes a day can make a difference. It's about strategy, not just scrolling.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
So for someone who's maybe overwhelmed by the sheer number of platforms out there, how does the guide recommend choosing your battles?
It all comes back to knowing your ideal customer. Who are you trying to reach with your art? What platforms are they most active on?
Right, because a sculptor's audience might be hanging out in different online spaces than, say, a digital artist creating NFTs.
Precisely. The guide suggests considering factors like audience demographics, the type of content that performs well on each platform, and even how user-friendly the platform itself is.
It's about working smarter, not harder. Love that. And speaking of working smarter, they do a whole breakdown of specific platforms. But instead of doing a drive-by of all of them, which could be overwhelming, let's focus on the two they highlight as powerhouses for visual artists: Instagram and Pinterest. Let's get tactical. What makes these platforms so great for showcasing visual art?
Well, with Instagram, it's all about that immediate visual impact. The platform is built for stunning imagery, and its massive user base offers incredible reach potential.
It's like a digital gallery where anyone in the world can stumble upon your work. And from what I gather from the guide, Instagram also provides some pretty cool features specifically for artists.
Absolutely. You can create a dedicated profile to showcase your portfolio, use stories to offer behind-the-scenes glimpses into your process, even sell directly through the platform using shoppable posts.
So you've got this built-in audience of art enthusiasts already primed to discover and potentially buy their work. That's powerful. Now let's talk about Pinterest. It's always struck me as more of a mood board, inspiration gathering kind of platform. How does that translate to marketing your art?
You're right. People go to Pinterest for inspiration, which is exactly what makes it so valuable for artists. Think of it as a visual search engine where you can curate your own online gallery using their boards feature.
Okay, so I, as an artist, can create these themed boards showcasing different aspects of my work, different styles, maybe even categorize them by subject matter.
Precisely. And because Pinterest is all about visual discovery, people can easily stumble upon your work while browsing for ideas, even if they weren't specifically looking for an artist like you.
It's like serendipity meets strategic organization, which is kind of brilliant. The guide seems to be suggesting that Pinterest is less about instant gratification and more about building a long-term presence that can lead to some pretty incredible opportunities down the line.
Absolutely. It's about capturing the attention of those who are actively seeking inspiration and drawing them into your artistic world.
And from there, you can start to build those valuable connections and potentially turn those casual scrollers into loyal fans and patrons.
Exactly. And speaking of connecting with your audience, both Instagram and Pinterest lend themselves really well to visually rich content, but they're also platforms where you can showcase your personality.
Right, because it's not just about the art itself. It's about why you as an artist.
Exactly. The guide talks about the importance of treating your online presence like your own curated art exhibit. It should feel cohesive and authentic to who you are.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between presenting a polished image and letting your personality shine through. What are some practical tips the guide offers for achieving that balance?
Well, they emphasize the importance of having a consistent visual style across your platforms. Think about your color palettes, your editing style, even the way you frame your shots.
It's like having a visual signature that makes your work instantly recognizable.
Exactly. And beyond the visuals, they talk about crafting a compelling artist bio that draws people in. This is your chance to tell your story, share your inspirations, and give potential followers a glimpse into what makes you tick.
Because people connect with stories. They want to know the heart and soul behind the art.
Precisely. And it's not just about crafting a great bio and then disappearing into the ether. The guide really stresses the importance of engaging with your audience.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice? We're talking about responding to comments, running polls, maybe even going live to chat with followers in real time.
All of that. And the guide offers some really practical advice for managing your time effectively so you're not glued to your phone 24/7. They suggest setting aside specific times each day to engage, even if it's just for 15, 20 minutes.
Because even small interactions can make a big difference. It shows people that you're not just broadcasting, you're listening and responding.
Exactly. And it helps build that sense of community that we were talking about earlier. And speaking of listening, the guide also encourages artists to pay attention to their analytics.
Ah, yes, the data. I'll admit I used to get a little intimidated by all those numbers.
I understand, but the guide presents it in a way that clicked for me. It's not about obsessing over vanity metrics. It's about using data as a feedback loop.
So it's less about how many likes did I get
Mm-hmm.
and more about what resonated with people. What can I learn from this?
Exactly. It's about understanding which types of posts are getting the most engagement, what times of day your audience is most active, even which hashtags are driving the most traffic to your profile.
It's like having a conversation with your audience through data. And the more you understand what they're responding to, the better you can tailor your content to their interests.
Precisely. And the guide emphasizes that this is an ongoing process of experimentation and refinement.
So you try something, see how it performs, adjust your approach based on the data, and repeat. It's all about continuous improvement.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. The guide goes beyond the usual advice about posting consistently and using relevant hashtags. They actually encourage artists to embrace their individuality and not be afraid to break the mold.
Because in a world saturated with content, it's your uniqueness that's going to make you stand out.
Precisely. They urge artists to find their unique voice, develop a signature style, and create content that reflects their authentic selves, even if it goes against the grain.
Because ultimately, it's that genuine passion that will draw people in.
Absolutely. And while both sources offer incredibly valuable how-to advice, I think they also subtly highlight an even more fundamental question: the why behind the art itself. They're encouraging artists to not just focus on the mechanics of marketing, but also to dig deep and connect with the core reason why they create in the first place.
It's like that old saying, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. But how do they even find your why amidst all the noise?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the guide seems to suggest that it's not just about shouting louder, it's about finding the right people to listen. It's about attracting the audience that resonates with your unique why.
Okay, so it's about connection, not just clicks. But how do you actually do that?
One interesting tactic the guide mentions is using your content to start conversations, not just showcase finished pieces. Sharing your process, your struggles, even your doubts. It can make your art more relatable.
Because we all love a good behind-the-scenes peek, right? It makes the art feel more human, more accessible.
Exactly. And by being open about your own journey, you'll likely attract people who connect with your story, your values, even your struggles as an artist.
It's about building a community around shared passions. And the guide also touches on the importance of collaboration, right?
Absolutely. They encourage artists to connect with other artists, galleries, even influencers in their niche. It's about building relationships and expanding your reach through genuine collaboration.
Because a rising tide lifts all boats, as they
Yeah.
say. So for those of us who might be feeling overwhelmed or maybe even a little discouraged about the whole marketing side of things, what's the key takeaway from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't get caught up in comparing yourself to others or chasing overnight success. Focus on finding your voice, connecting with your audience, and building a sustainable presence over time.
It's about staying true to yourself, putting in the work, and trusting that the right people will find their way to your, hopefully, metaphorical doorstep.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't have to do it all alone. Lean on your community, seek out mentors, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
And who knows, maybe by this time next year, you'll be the one sharing your wisdom and inspiring other artists. But for now, if you're just starting out or even if you're a seasoned pro looking for a fresh perspective, remember, the most important step is the next one. Pick one thing that resonated with you today, whether it's refining your Instagram strategy or exploring Pinterest for the first time, and dedicate those 30 minutes to taking action.
Because the art world needs your unique voice.
Beautifully said. That wraps up another deep dive. We'll see you next time, ready to explore more uncharted territories of knowledge. Until then, keep creating, keep connecting, and keep those creative fires burning bright.